housing is a major problem in Europe. So you need to fight to find a location, and that's typically by yourself. So don't interest yourself just in the university, interest yourself in the department. I know LMU has a very strong anthropology sort of uh, orientation. Also, the a lot of medical science is quite good in LMU. Uppsala, I think, is known for computation and physics also quite well. But you have to also focus on the non-academic side of things. How will you live? How will you socialize? Please have a working understanding of their language. It really helps because there's a life outside your university. Student focused your interactions become, the more you actually get to know the inner workings of the city for the students. That the embassy will not be able to tell you. So in Sweden and Germany, there was an agreement between the two countries that students of these two countries, international permit holders for a student program, they can actually be allowed to stay for long term in both countries, depending on, I mean, with permit from one country. So my Swedish permit was valid for its entire length in Germany also. That
Hi, welcome to Evolving Being. In today's session, we have a very special guest, Tanmay Singh. He has a very interesting background. So, he's done his Bachelor's of Science in Biology at Ashoka University. And more recently, he's come back from a tour of Europe where he went on the Erasmus Mundus program to study evolutionary biology. His interest areas lie in ecology, evolutionary implications of disease and climate change on wild and lab populations. And he's been trained in India, Sweden, Germany, and Switzerland. Now, outside of academia, he enjoys listening and playing Indian classical music along with keeping abreast on world affairs. So, a warm welcome to you, Tanmay.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, in today's conversation, we are going to tap into your rich experience that you've had. And what we'll do is we'll break up the conversation into two segments. In part one, we'll look at questions around the Erasmus program, more in terms of the application process, your experience, the visa process, programs that you're eligible for, and things like that. And then the second part of the conversation, we'll jump into the deep dive into the countries that you've been to understand opportunities for students that may be interested in terms of popular universities, courses, life on campus, just living in Europe in general. And I'm sure you have a lot of do's and don'ts for students to keep in mind, given your own, whatever knickknacks and hassles you may have encountered. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Yes, I'm ready and excited.
So you visited Germany, Sweden, and Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Uh, yeah, it was a very fast-paced, moving, lots of mobility. So, quick overview. I joined the program in August 2023. I was in Sweden till March 2024, and then I joined Germany for 2 semesters. For a year, I was there till from March 2024, no, early April 2024 to March 2025. And then from March 2025 to August 2025, I was in Switzerland. So this is kind of the breakdown of what I did.
Mm.
And so it was 1 semester in Sweden plus an additional research project, 2 semesters in Germany, and then 1 semester in Switzerland. So, yes.
Right, right, right. And
And
so,
yeah.
please finish your thought.
No, I think, yeah, you're not prepared for the flying you will have to do. I think there's just so much, you'll take trains and flights and travel so much. I mean, I've not done it in such a short space before, and I think that was definitely an experience. Yeah.
So, I mean, for someone considering Europe as a destination, they may get the Erasmus program, they may not get it, they may just directly be applying for masters and other academic opportunities. So, based on your experience, what are some good universities that you recommend in these regions and possible, like this university is known for this program. For instance, I know LMU is pretty popular in Munich, and they have a strong science, tech, engineering sort of a context. So things like that, like if you could name some popular universities and,
I mean, uh, if I name the ones I attended, let's start there. So in Sweden, I attended Uppsala University, which is really a premier institution when it comes to research in Sweden and Scandinavian contexts. So Uppsala is a medium-sized city in Sweden. Um, it's a little bit away from Stockholm, which is the capital of Sweden, but still very well connected there. And then in Germany, I was in LMU, Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich, which, as you mentioned, is really a powerhouse in Europe in various disciplines. And in Switzerland, I was in the University of Lausanne, which is in the French part of the country, and is also it has a lot of relevance for different fields across the world. And I think when it comes to recommending good universities, see, one approach is that you look at the rankings, the international rankings that are published around the world, and you make your conclusions based on that. But throughout the program, I felt that this is not the way to do things. What you should instead do, in my opinion, is look at what you want to do, what you want to pursue, and look for the researcher or the academician that you want to learn under and the kind of work that they're doing. So you see, for instance, if you're interested, don't interest yourself just in the university, interest yourself in the department. So if you're interested in computer science, don't look at the rankings and say, I want to go to the top ranked university in the world for you instead focus very specifically on which computer science department has really good researchers, well cited researchers in my field, and which are active scholars in
Yeah, would
that.
you have any examples to add, for instance, which departments stand out to you?
So of course, every university that I went to in the program was a powerhouse in evolutionary biology, which is my specialization. Um, but I mean, there are, I know LMU has a very strong anthropology sort of uh, orientation. Also, the a lot of medical science is quite good in LMU. Uppsala, I think, is known for computation and physics also quite well. UNEL, I was there for 6 months and on a project, so I'm not very sure about outside my field. They were quite well known in many things, but I'm not the right person, I feel, to ask.
So focus more on the research that is done in these universities and department specific research rather than just general university rankings. And just in the interest of time, I know we've already crossed the 30-minute mark, so I still have like one or two more
Yes.
segments we want to cover. So one is the visa process. How was that experience for you, and what are the visa
So,
requirements?
if you're on a scholarship, you can get in many Erasmus programs, you can get like a long-term visa straight away. In my case, I had to apply for visas in Sweden, Germany, and Switzerland separately as an Indian national. So I know I have experience in all of these countries. And what I would say is that they are very different in their migration policies. They have very different sets of regulations which you need to comply with. And so uh, you need to be very thorough with their guidelines wherever you apply in Europe. You need to apply in time. So if you know you're expected in Europe, let us say in August of 2023, please don't apply in August itself. I mean, they give on their websites a certain turnaround time of how long does a visa application take. And if you're not too sure about when to apply, you can always reach out to the international offices at these universities where you get through. They are more than willing to help international students. That if I'm moving from Germany to Switzerland, I need to know how my visa is going to work. My visa requirements are going to work. Because
So
even though
how
you
was it?
have,
So how was it for you? I mean, when you left, because your first country was
Sweden.
so you got the visa for Sweden from Delhi,
Yeah.
and then
So the- yeah, I got the visa for I got like not a visa, I got the residence permit, which is the longer form. So the residence permit is anything more than 3 months. If you decide to stay more than 90 days, you get what we call permits. And these permits typically they come with Schengen mobility, meaning that anywhere within the EU and Switzerland, you can move with those permits, but for 90 days. So if your home country is, let us say, Sweden, you can go anywhere outside Sweden in Europe
yeah,
90 days.
and then
Yeah.
once you reached Sweden, that's when you had to apply in Sweden, at Uppsala, I'm guessing, for your next country, which was
Uh, yes, because I needed a long term. So in Sweden and Germany, there was an agreement between the two countries that students of these two countries, international permit holders for a student program, they can actually be allowed to stay for long term in both countries, depending on, I mean, with permit from one country. So my Swedish permit was valid for its entire length in Germany also. That was a plus point. That's also part of the Erasmus mobility, which can benefit you. But for example, Switzerland and Germany did not follow this. So I had to, I mean, when my Swedish permit expired in Germany, I had to reapply for a German permit.
Hmm.
And my German permit was not valid beyond the usual 90 days in Switzerland. So I had to apply for another long-term permit in
And you
Switzerland.
had to move also to, like, for instance, go back to
Yeah,
Germany.
yeah. So you have to plan, and then also, in these visa applications, very, very, very important is they you might be asked, to show financial means, and also sometimes you can be asked in the interview, where do you plan to stay? It's not an official requirement for students, as far as I'm aware, because students, housing is a major problem in Europe. So you need to fight to find a location, and that's typically by yourself,
Yeah.
quite
I
simply.
I remember I was also asked this question, but at a much later stage. I mean, I got the visa in Delhi and I was good to go. When I landed in Boston and I was at that border protection, whatever the customs, that's when they asked me, they said, "Where are you going to stay? What are you going to do? Give me your address, this, that, all that." And I was like, "Oh my God, like good that I knew my address, my flat number and everything, but I didn't know that I had to like be thorough with all those
Yeah,
details."
because you are treated as a foreign national from the get-go. So administratively, they have many processes that you need to tell them exactly where you were going to stay. They need to follow up. So a lot of the letters that will come to you abroad from many institutions, they are at your address. So they are very particular about you having your own address where letters can be sent. If you don't have that, then one temporary get around is to give the address of your uh, university. There's a mail room in the university, and say that, I'm a student, uh, and I'm still looking for my residence, but my letters can be delivered there till I say otherwise. This is the get around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the next question is on language. I believe like all these programs must be conducted in English, so you didn't have to really learn the local language. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, but it really helps for integration to learn the local languages as much as you can. So there are in all European universities specific courses that are given to students optionally, but highly recommended for introduction to the language.
Hmm.
And the key in many universities is that they can become free for you should you pass the course. So if you take the course and you fail it, then you end up paying the fee. But if
Okay.
you pass the course, you're also credited for it. So it's not in many universities. I know, for example, in Germany, that was how it was. You're credited for it, and you don't have to pay.
Yeah, what I've heard about Germany is also that even if you're joining at the undergrad level, You can take the first year and just learn the language. And you will, I mean, they will pay, the government will pay for the language program, and then later you can sort of transition to the undergrad program, which is in German.
Yeah. So a lot of the undergraduate programs in Germany, especially, are, and also I would say generally in Europe, are in their local languages. I mean, just a couple of months ago, we had a legislation ruling in Holland that courses in psychology had to be in Dutch, which were always in English, bachelor courses. So they're all moving towards undergraduate education in their local language for locals to come in. And then later education is typically in English.
Mm.
So, yes, in undergraduate education, there is a focus on learning the language and it really helps. But even if you go at later stages, please have a working understanding of their language. It really helps because there's a life outside your university.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go buy something and you try and speak with a German shopkeeper in English, they're not going to understand you. You need to learn their language. And you need to say, for instance, that if you have some dietary restriction, you know, you need to be able to communicate that and fast. It can't be that you're holding up the line. So these kind of things, it always helps to know
Mm,
the language.
mm,
And
mm,
it's not that difficult. Once you get there, you will start assimilating very quickly the language.
mm. What about the Indian community there?
The Indian community, yeah. So, yeah, that's a nice question actually. In all the countries that I went to, there were decent numbers of Indians. In Germany, especially, I saw several. In Munich and in Germany in general, I think Indians are the second largest, or if not the largest, student group internationally. So everywhere you go, you will see Indians. You will see in your university, in major German university, you will find Indians. Um, and it's nice to get in touch with them if you miss home, and students will be your best bet. I mean, it's very unlikely that you as a student will find a settled Indian family in that country, and then you interact with them. So, but the student community, there are several Indians there in all these countries. And
Mm,
also what helps is, suppose you want to get in touch with an Indian, and you're feeling a bit homesick, find an Indian restaurant near you
mhm,
and go and just scout around and see who comes. And many of these places are actually employing Indian students part-time to help them. And also the Indian embassies, wherever you go, they are very important, I would say. You need to make yourself felt that I am a student, and you know in case there's anything, please familiarize yourself with the embassy,
yeah,
where it is, the numbers. There are helpline numbers, uh,
yeah.
and they can also
Very
guide you to Indians.
Yeah, very often they have, like, I remember Boston fell under the New York consulate. So they had like a place on the website where students could just register and say, I've moved to your whatever,
Yeah,
see geography, and here I am, this is what I'm doing. Like just a get to know me kind of
yeah.
thing. So embassies do reach out, and whenever there are events and things like that, they also extend invitations.
But you can also, like, I mean, the more student focused your interactions become, the more you actually get to know the inner workings of the city for the students.
Mm.
That the embassy will not be able to tell you.
So what about the cost of living? How much money, like just ballpark, should students keep in mind, like a broad range, if they are considering something like
Um, it really depends on where you're going. So in my case, Uppsala was very affordable. Much affordable, much more affordable than Munich. Munich was a huge city. Um, and then Geneva, I mean, in Lausanne, I was close to Geneva, so the prices were also very high. So, I mean, there's no bar. I would suggest that this is the minimum, that's the maximum. What I would instead say is, go to the city where you want to go, and then there are these websites which suggest costs, right? And whatever they suggest, please keep 200 pounds, 200 euros per month extra.
If you were to go through this entire journey all over again, what advice will you give to students who are incoming, and what are the things that they should keep in mind?
I think, yeah, don't be so nervous. Many of us become nervous. How will we do it? What's going to happen? So much travel, especially if somebody's not gone out of the country before. It's a very enjoyable experience, especially in an Erasmus program. It's demanding, certainly. So don't, uh, you know, go through an Erasmus program if you don't feel that you are excited enough for it. But also that the when you get into a European university, there's a lot of hype about, oh, you've gotten in, oh, the academics will be great, or oh, now you're a foreign student, that's excellent. But you have to also focus on the non-academic side of things. How will you live? How will you socialize? What kind of hobbies will you pick up? That kind of thing is important. How will you integrate? Uh, so try to focus on that also. Academics will keep coming and keep going. And I think for many Indians, they underestimate these differences across, the non-academic part of things. They all
Mm.
come and tell me, and I've had the same experience where, oh, I didn't think about this. Oh, I didn't think that Sweden would be so cold. The
Mm.
basics, very basic things. Sweden won't be so cold. Oh, but I didn't think that, in Munich, they wouldn't speak that much English. There's a focus on German. Oh, I didn't think in Switzerland, French is so important. I felt that, oh, only my university environment is what I would be dealing with. No, there's a whole world, and Europe is a beautiful place. You want to go explore, see Europe. It's fantastic for students in terms of travel, very accommodating that way. So think about that also. Plan your journeys. The best experiences in Europe are those where they know what they want to do there, apart from academics. It's a great
Wonderful.
place to be. Yeah.
That's an amazing summary. I mean, don't be nervous. Go beyond your scope of academics and fit yourself into the culture that you're immersing in. On that note, we've covered so much. We've started with the Erasmus program, what it is, the application, the interview, your educational experience, and then jumped into all these three different countries and understood the universities, courses, language, fee, cost of living, visa process. So there's just a lot that we've covered in this video. Thank you so much, Tanmay, for taking
Most
the
welcome.
opportunity
It
and
was a,
for
it
sharing
was
your experience with us. It's been wonderful.
it was a real pleasure. Yeah, I really enjoyed this interaction.